Hello NFL fans and welcome back to the Wall of NFL channel. In this video today, I'm going to be talking about 5 games coming up in week 6 that I think are going to be the most interesting, and I'll also giving my thoughts on who's going to win each game as well. The last London game between the Jets and the Falcons wasn't the best game overall, but I think this one between the Dolphins and the Jaguars could prove to be quite exciting, as both defenses are kind of a bit naff so far this season. I think though, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, this could be Urban Meyer's last game as head coach. Since not travelling with the Bengals in week 4, he's come under a lot of stick for that, and I think that he may struggle to keep his job if they lose this one. He's had a difficult time of it, and I think the experiment might not have worked for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Dolphins, on the other hand, I think they could put up an awful lot of points in this game because the Jaguars' defense is really one of the worst in the league. And the Jaguars, on the other hand, could play really well, and because it's Urban Meyer's potential last game in charge if they lose. So maybe they'll just go for broke, and I think this could be a really high-scoring game between the two sides. The Chiefs definitely need this game to bounce back in their division. They're currently 2-3 and bottom of their division, and they're really struggling. They're 31st in yards allowed to the offense, both running and passing, so their defense is just really poor. And I think that if they don't gel, they're going to cause real problems for the Chiefs as a whole. The offense, though, I think will be fine as long as Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Kelsey are able to stay healthy. I know Edwards-Helaire went down with an injury last week, but I think that they should be fine overall because Damian Williams is still a competent running back. I think the Washington football team, they should be able to keep up with the Chiefs based on how poor the Chiefs' defense has been, but I think the Chiefs should run away with this one because they are so good offensively. And I don't think the Washington football team are as good as some of the other teams that the Chiefs have lost to. The Chiefs have lost to the Bills and the Chargers and the Ravens, who are all going to be in the playoffs in December and January. So I think that there's not a lot to worry about for the Chiefs, but I mean, if you just look at those defensive stats, they are really poor. I think that the Chiefs should be totally fine offensively because the Washington football team only have 9 sacks so far, and they're really struggling themselves defensively. So this should be an easy win for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers versus the Ravens this weekend is definitely a game you'll want to keep your eye on. Both of these teams are playing really well at the moment. I think they're both 4-1, and I think this is going to be a precursor to a game that they will play again in the playoffs. So I think depending on who wins this one, it could really have a big impact if and when they play again in the playoffs later on this season. Lamar Jackson is having an incredible year so far. In 2019, the year that he won his MVP, he was averaging 254 yards and 62 rushing yards at this point in that season. But at this point in this season, he's averaging 304 yards passing and 68 yards rushing per game. So right now, he's playing better and in better form than he was when he was the MVP in 2019. So it goes to show that he is doing amazingly. And if the Ravens do win the playoffs, it is going to be because of Lamar Jackson. And he's just an unbelievable player. Justin Herbert on the other sideline, he is averaging more passing yards. He's currently got 315 yards per game so far this season and 13 touchdowns as well, which is one of the best in the league. Herbert, in only his second season, has been absolutely incredible. So I think that these two guys are going to be massive when it comes to playing out which team is going to lose and which team is going to win in this game. Keep your eye on each defense though, because they're both pretty decent in some aspects, but a bit shaky in others. So I would say this is going to be a really good game, and I'm expecting it to be quite high scoring as well. The Cardinals are the only team still in the NFL that are undefeated at 5-0. The Cardinals, they always seem to have games go their way, and they always play very tough as well. Despite not being the best statistically, especially when it comes to rush defense, they always still find a way to win no matter what. I think though that is very key in this game against the Browns, their rushing defense. The Browns have over 900 yards rushing on the season, and they are definitely the best rushing team in the NFL which is going to be a massive problem for the Cardinals, considering their rush defense is like 27th in the league out of 32, which is just really not good. So I am worried a little bit for the Cardinals this week. If they aren't able to have the best game offensively, I think they won't be able to keep up with the Browns, and the Browns could just score points upon points upon points. I would say the one thing that the Cardinals definitely have going for them, though, is that Kyler Murray is by far and away a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield, especially this season. Kyler Murray is looking like he is the best quarterback in the league this year, and he's odds on to win the MVP. So I think that if they are able to get Kyler Murray into the game, that the Cardinals definitely have a chance of winning, if not blowing out the Browns, if they aren't able to get their run game going. I think if the Cardinals get on top early, the Browns will be forced to throw the ball a little bit more, and we all know that Baker Mayfield, when he's forced to throw the ball, is just nowhere near as good as when the running game is taking control of the Browns offense, and he's just there to complement the running game. I am a little bit worried about the Browns in this game because so far when they've played the two other good teams that they've played, they've been leading all the way up until the fourth quarter. But then when it comes to closing out the game, they haven't done very well. So I think if the Cardinals are even close to the Browns in terms of points when it comes to the fourth quarter, the Cardinals are definitely going to win because Baker Mayfield just can't close out a game. And Kevin Stefanski, he seems to get a little bit too conservative when they get in the lead. But the Cardinals, on the other hand, they are ballsy. So if they're close, they are just going to air it out with Kyler Murray and definitely going to come away with the win if they're close. I think the Bills versus the Titans on Monday Night Football could be fairly competitive, but I do worry that the Bills could just completely blow out the Titans. The Titans are pretty one-dimensional offensively, pretty much only handing the ball to Derrick Henry, and they don't have a lot going for them in terms of the passing game. Ryan Tannehill hasn't had his best season so far when throwing the ball, so I think if the Bills are just able to stop Derrick Henry, which they should be able to as the best defense in the league, but if they are able to stop Derrick Henry, they should find this game really easy, as the Titans' defense has been really shocking. And with the amount of weapons and the amount of just dangerousness that the Bills have offensively, with Josh Allen potentially running and throwing and all the different weapons that he has, I think it could be really bad for the Titans. And the Bills could get up into the 40s in terms of points yet again this season, and they could hold the Titans to around 15-20 points if all goes to plan for the Bills. I think if Derrick Henry is able to get running though, it should be a lot closer than that though. So in summary, my predictions for the games go as follows. I think the Buccaneers will beat the Eagles because the Buccaneers' firepower is just way too hot for the Eagles to handle. I think that the Jaguars will beat the Dolphins because they are just in desperation mode at the moment and need a win. I think the Chiefs beat the Washington football team because the Chiefs' offense is just so good, similar to the Buccaneers against the Eagles, and I don't think the football team will be able to compete with the Chiefs. I think the Rams beat the Giants because the Giants just have way too many injuries to even show up against the Rams, really. I think that the Colts beat the Texans because the Colts just have one or two star players that the Texans just do not have. I think the Bengals beat the Lions because the Bengals are looking really formidable offensively with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. I think that the Packers will beat the Bears because Justin Fields just isn't ready to compete with the likes of Aaron Rodgers. I think it's close, but I think the Ravens beat the Chargers because there's a lot more experience with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson is just way too hard to stop. I think it will be close though, of course. I think the Vikings will win because they're a lot better than their record suggests, and the Panthers are kind of coming off of a losing streak of 2, so I think the Vikings will win that one. I think the Browns will beat the Cardinals because their rushing game is just way too hard to stop. And the Cardinals, they're doing really bad at stopping the run at the moment. I think the Broncos beat the Raiders because so much has happened with the Raiders this week that I feel like it'll be hard for them to turn up with John Gruden resigning. I think that the Cowboys will win against the Patriots because they are one of the top 5 teams in the league. And the Patriots are just nowhere near that level at the moment. And I think the Steelers will beat the Seahawks because Geno Smith is going to be quarterbacking for the Seahawks and he won't be able to move the ball against the Steelers. And I think the Bills will stop Derrick Henry, so therefore the Bills will definitely win that game against the Titans. So thank you guys so much for watching my predictions for week 6 of the NFL season. Please also check out wallofnfl.com for exclusive articles and content and live scores as well when the games are going on. And please also check out our TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter for all of the NFL's updates and everything that's going on at the Wall of NFL. Please also remember to like and subscribe and comment down below who you think is going to win each game this weekend.